Same with
which isn't saying like he's the third best player in the league, but I'm saying like sometimes he is. God, let's glaze Connor Bedard. Let's blaze with Connor Bedard. I'll say I would not want to smoke weed with Connor Bedard because I wouldn't want Connor Bedard to smoke weed with me.
Disagree.
Yeah, strong
disagree there.
That motherfucker it seems like a prime.
Let's open up that brain.
And let's just start naming basketball players from the late 2010s.
No, on a team trip, like on like the Detroit Red Wings trip that we did where we just got fucking stoned and watched Taskmaster. That would
Bedard in that mix?
Get Bedard in that mix, and we were just talking about like early 2000s, mid 2000s NBA players.
Yeah.
And that conversation is going on for 4 hours.
So again, my concern, though, is not with how he would behave. And not that I'm the worst. When I'm stoned, I'm usually kind of chilled out. Although I had a panic attack last time I smoked weed. It was
glad you brought it up.
But typically, I'm just like putting on Donny Hathaway and being like, here's the trick. He's got the best voice in the world. Don't even listen to his voice. Listen to his playing right now. That guy on an electric piano is incredible. I don't know if Connor Bedard would want that. So that's why I say I don't want to smoke weed with Connor Bedard, because I've already given Connor Bedard a kind of ridiculous experience. Mm-hmm. I just want him to have a good time. And I also want him to come back on our show. So I don't know if me like playing the Eagles for him would endear him to us. So Taskmaster, I'll tell you what,
you're out of this blunt rotation. No, but Connor Bedard's in.
He would not be wanting to do Taskmaster with you two. I'll say that.
Why?
He doesn't want to sit around watching. He wants to talk about NBA players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I said we would just be talking about NBA players, not Taskmaster. We would shift the vibe for Bedard if he was joining the blunt rotation.
You've got to curate the scene for him. He curated a scene for me last night, which was I like watching cool hockey players do cool shit. Everybody was freaking out about. So he had two big moments. He had a very sick goal in regulation, and then he had a goal in overtime in the shootout. Sean, could you play the shootout goal for me? Because I have an important question.
And he make it continue. Bedard on Hart. What a move! What a goal!
Can I ask your question for you, or can I try to guess your question? Yeah. Is it illegal because you dragged it backwards? The puck's not moving forward at all times?
Cool. Fuck that.
All
no.
Right, nice. Good. I was going to say fuck off.
My question is a statement, which is I think that might be the best shootout goal ever.
Ooh,
That's the sickest. That might be the sickest shootout goal I've ever seen.
Shit. I'm forgetting.
Like Forsberg and stuff.
No, who is the USA women's player who absolutely fucking demolished the Canadian goaltender?
Lamoureux?
Yeah, Jocelyn
Lamoureux Davidson.
Yes.
Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson.
Yep. She fucking absolutely demolished the Canadian goaltender on a winning shootout goal, and it was just like, I think that was the best shootout goal I've ever seen. I'm not saying that it definitely is, but this for me, watching that live, I thought this could be the best shootout goal I've ever seen. Incredible. Chat says that was a dunk. Connor Bedard, famously big basketball fan, that shootout goal was as close to a dunk as you'll find.
Yes, good way of putting it. Unbelievable. Yeah. So that's wonderful. Another young player that we need to discuss is Jesper Wallstedt.
You watched the Jocelyn Lamoureux one? Can we throw that up? Because I still think that one's a little bit more emphatic than what Bedard did to Hart, but both of them are kind of in the same realm.
Yeah, give me a moment.
Yeah, it was, and apologies to Jocelyn Lamoureux, American hero, for forgetting her name. Apologies.
Far be it from Pete to...
Chad is saying I failed the Name a Woman challenge.
It happens.
It does.
Shouldn't happen that often.
That one.
Name a man you trust.
I think that one still holds up as the number one for me.
Yes, very, very good. But damn, what can be said about Bedard while we wait for John?
I would say what can be said about Bedard is I do think that he is entering the territory that very few players hold, where they're on one-man takeover watch. Like, we've talked about it with McDavid. We've talked about it with McKinnon. I think Bedard is entering into that territory where he's now done it basically 2 games in a row, where he's just the guy who, if he decides that the game is not going the way that he likes, he will single-handedly change it himself.
The Olympics don't play around.
Oh, yes.
We can't show Olympic highlights.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. That's right.
Good catch. Very smart, Sean. Okay.
Look
it up, though.
Jocelyn
It's
Lamoureux.
sick.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. Also, I was 2 years late on where Bedard is, or 2 years early, unfortunately, on where Bedard is now. I thought that by the end of his first year, he would be where he is right now, which is ridiculous and stupid. So, once again, ridiculous and stupid boy over here. But he is in that. I thought that he would be in the second tier, which I don't know if you call the second tier everybody after McDavid, but I think of like the first tier as like McDavid, McKinnon for forwards, McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl. And there are some guys you could throw up in there, like Kucherov probably should be in there. Rantanen sometimes can be in there, but that second tier where I would say like just like below McKinnon, but not necessarily below anybody else on any given night. I think he's like getting to that tier.
Same with
which isn't saying like he's the third best player in the league, but I'm saying like sometimes he is.
Yeah, like same with Celebrini too.
Yes.
I think that Bedard, the bigger point is that Bedard just skipped that second tier. He went from whatever you want to call the third tier, the C tier.
Gauthier did the same thing.
I think Gauthier skipped.
Oh yeah, Gauthier. I would say
Gauthier skipped like 3 tiers.
Yeah,
but Bedard straight up went from like a C-ish level tier takeover to an A tier takeover player.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get everything, daily episodes, player interviews, and so much more. It's all here on the What Chaos YouTube. Hit subscribe. Unrelated, Gavin McKenna has 23 points in his last 5 games for Medicine
Very
Hat.
unrelated.
So I'll say that I know he's not in this draft, but I feel like there could be Gavin McKenna conversations for people wearing hats like yours. Well, I hate crime, and that was committed last night. Rarely does my phone blow up these days during a Bruins game anymore. I apologize, Pete, but last night it did. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that? What the fuck? Put them in jail, all because Murat Husnudinov bumps Darcy Kemper. Kemper bumps him best. I forget who comes in, but just like madness ensues. Jeremy Swayman says, "Hands off my guy." Skates out, leaves his crease, goes to fight Kemper. Kemper throws the gloves down. They're ready to go. Kemper, take your mask off, bud. And the officials come in and break it up. We could have had 2 very big boys fighting each other, and the ref said no.
2 guys who are not unfamiliar with the smoke. Like Kemper and Swayman would be an awesome goalie fight. And literally the only 2 people in the building that did not want it were the 2 that fucking bent over backwards and jumped into the line of traffic to prevent it.
Wrong. Sean, who else didn't want it?
Who didn't want the goalie fight?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someone was on record of saying no one wants that and then corrected themselves. Jim Hiller after the game was like, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see that. And then he was like, I mean,
everyone
like the 2 coaches don't want to see it, but everybody else probably wants to see it.
Yes. I don't give a shit about the coaches. I don't give a shit about anybody. I don't give a shit about anybody who has a dissenting opinion from this. Goalie fights are the coolest fucking thing in hockey. Allow it to happen. I understand like wanting to prevent it in a situation where they're not ready to go. These 2 guys were busting through their pants for a chance to fight each other.
Swayman has tried to fight before.
I know.
It seems like the NHL quietly is like, we're just not letting goalies fight.
Oh, they definitely are
point.
not.
Yes, it has not happened. Let's do a little trivia. Let's see if anybody knows. Who's the last goalie to fight?
I don't know. It had to be years ago at this point.
Yeah.
It's relevant to this week, and it's relevant to me.
Is it Mike Smith?
It's Mike Smith. Guess. And I forget who from the Flames.
Oh, was it during Battle of Alberta?
Yes.
Wow, that rocks.
Could you imagine?
In a Battle of Alberta, Mike Smith fought, and I'm very apologetic to whoever. Like, it wasn't
Was it
Vladar.
Markstrom?
It might have been Markstrom. Was Markstrom 2020? Markstrom there in 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been.
It was Cam Talbot.
Oh, it was Cam Talbot. Yeah, in a Cam Talbot bowl.
Okay. All right.
Bit of a Cam Talbot bowl there. Yeah, but
that's Mike Smith bowl too.
But our beloved, yes, in a Mike Smith bowl. Our beloved Mike Smith is the last goalie to fight. Shouldn't be like that. That's a record that's meant to be broken.
No, they're definitely actively preventing them. This is the most egregious example where they're like these guys were like seconds away from blows. I've seen them step in before when the guys are going to center ice. I haven't seen it where a guy throws down his mask and is like actively engaging in the fight and then gets broken up. I can't stand it. It's especially as a Bruins fan. I'm so numb to the Bruins experience that watching that and getting a chance to feel something and then having it taken away from me ruined my entire night.
You know what ruined my night? I don't know why, but this little detail of it really just punched my ass an extra time. They got the minors.
Yeah.
They penalized them for leaving the crease.
Grow up.
Fuck you. Grow up. Get over it.
Goalies are players too.
These are adult men.
Fuck you.
Give them the choice. Let them have fun. What the fuck are we doing here?
Let the boys be boys.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's where it gets weird and just brings on a whole new hockey topic. Post-game. I mentioned what Jim Hiller said, and I horribly bastardized it, I am sure, in my paraphrasing. Nikita Zadorov was asked by Fluto Shinzawa after the game if the team appreciated Jeremy Swayman sticking up for his teammate. Here's this exchange.
Do you guys appreciate that Jeremy stuck up for Husinino?
Is that what it is?
Look like it.
Okay. I don't know. No comment.
A little weird. I say it's a little weird.
Well, it's funny because before that, I was going to say, if you're a good teammate, Nikita Zadorov, you need to grab somebody and distract the refs so your goalies can fight. But apparently, I didn't have too much interest in the goalie.
I don't think he thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
Asking, that's what it was? Oh, okay. We can only speculate.
Let's do that then.
I mean, where's Zadorov, guys? We love Zadorov. Zadorov might not be an us guy, but we love Nikita Zadorov. He's good for business. I see that, and I don't know if Nikita Zadorov's good for business for the Bruins.
Oh yeah, I mean,
the worst. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I hope that not more than one person thinks that Jeremy Swayman is bad for business.
Well, that's what I was gonna. The opposing stance on that is, well, maybe based off of that clip, you can draw one of two conclusions: Zadorov's bad for business, or Swayman's bad for business. And I think neither one is ideal. And maybe we're reading too much into it. Maybe we're circumcising the mosquito here, but like that's a weird fucking reaction.
That is weird.
Especially from Zadorov, who is like a chaos agent. If there's anybody who would be very down for the goaltender fight at center ice and backing his guy, it would be Zadorov. The fact that he didn't do it in that situation throws up, I think, some alarm bells.
Also, when was the last time you heard Nikita Zadorov be cryptic? That's the most direct person I've ever met in my life. Sean?
Oh, I will say, if you remember when we talked to him before the season, he did say he does not like fighting, and anybody that likes fighting is crazy. So maybe it's just like, I don't want to see guys fight.
But he does it to stick up for his guys. So that was the direct question was like, do you appreciate Swayman sticking up for his guy? And I mean, to try to read into it and to try to decipher Zadorov's reaction, maybe he didn't think that was Jeremy Swayman's intentions there. Maybe he thought it was the Jeremy Swayman show.
I mean, I could see. I could agree with if we were to find out Jeremy Swayman don't give a fuck about Murat Husnudinov. He just wants to fight. I'd be like, oh, I've known that Swayman wants to fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Knowing that he wants to fight and know that he's only known Husnudinov for like 2 weeks.
Jeremy Swayman. There's a lot of things you should know about him. He's a lovely person. He plays guitar. He's just he's the best. He hugs people. He wants to score a goal, and he wants to fight.
He likes the spotlight. Maybe Zadorov's just a little threatened by Swayman maybe taking away some of his spotlight.
I was wondering, I think Zadorov really wants to be the next captain of the Bruins. I don't think it's happening, but I think that he really wants to be the next captain of the Bruins.
I'll tell you what, if it happens, the world is upside down, brother.
I mean, that jersey Sean is going to get that jersey.
Sean finally got that would kind of rock.
I mean,
cool captain, boys.
It would be kind of funny.
Oh, absolutely.
Nikita
Bruins?
Zadorov at captain of any team would be extremely funny.
I
Just a
kinda
guy
think
who
he
runs
is-
around doing whatever he wants, committing penalties every 5 seconds.
And
Bruins
he's
Winter
like-
Classic Zadorov jersey with the C next year will go crazy.
Oh my
Yes.
Crazy.
And I'm watching the mockumentary Mr. America, in which Tim Heidecker runs for district attorney, and he just has no understanding of what district attorney does, and he's talking to his friends like who have like visa issues and everything, and he was like, "Oh well, don't worry. I mean, I'm going to be in charge of all that stuff in a couple of weeks once I win this thing." I love the idea. I think I could see Nikita Zadorov having the same mindset where he's like, finally, I'll be captain and I'll just be able to do whatever I want. None of this bullshit about like that was a dirty hit or taking penalties. Thank God.
Nikita, the solution is in the room, and it's me, Zadorov.
Oh, that would be the best. I gotta say, Nikita, I'm campaigning for you. If you need campaign managers, Pete and I, we will lose all of our contacts with the Bruins, but we're going to campaign for you to be the next captain of the Boston Bruins.
I think that he needs a PR manager. I think he needs a media manager. There was no reason for him to have that reaction and just send up these smoke signals for no reason.
Sean, that sounds like Pete's campaigning to be Nikita Zadorov's PR manager. I think you would do a great
That's
job.
true.
I don't know how much they cost, but a billboard near the Garden. Just Zadorov for captain.
He
Just
doesn't
make
go.
it a narrative.
I
The
want it
real
on the
reason,
side of the TD Garden. You know how they have like that advertising space? Yeah.
the real reason he doesn't go by Z anymore.
Ooh, he needs
Because he wants to go by C.
He wants to go by C.
C.
Nikita
Nice.
Zadorov.
I
Well-
mean, there is precedent in Boston for a big Z to be captain of the Boston Bruins.
Although it would really throw a wrinkle in one of our most beloved social clips, because
Well,
I believe Nikita Zadorov is shorter than Brad Marchand.
As-
Is taller than Brad.
as I pointed out before, I think that we're kind of cooked there anyways. There's like 10 active players shorter than
Ustinov.
Brad Marchand.
Listen,
Okay,
he knows
there you go.
shorter than Brad Marchand.
Next captain
Oh,
of your
that's
Boston
what it is.
Bruins.
Nikita Zadorov
Oh,
is the what would it be called? Like the campaign head or whatever. The
campaign manager.
campaign manager of Murat Husnadinov's captaincy campaign. Now we got it.
All right, we went all the way around. We're back. This is what a true crime podcast is.
Oh,
You just follow every lead.
that's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to suggest that Zadorov was undermining the importance of it because they're like, Swayman doesn't care about this guy. This guy's not. No one cares about this guy. He's not a captain. I'm the captain.
I don't know if he'd pick up. I kind of want to let's get Sweeney on speaker and be like,
Who's the next captain, Zadorov or Husnadinov?
hey, wondering if you'd be, we've narrowed it down. So just tell us, say nothing. Don't respond if it's Zadorov. And say this conversation is over if it's Husnadinov.
hang up if it's Husnadinov.
Yes. He might be doing that. Anyway, okay. Well, we will follow this throughout the week, I'm sure. A lot of other wild stuff. Oh, by the way, I should note, Bruins, since we asked if they were back, 0-5-1.
The season's over, brother. I'm on big lottery watch. I've been hammering the Tankathon website over the past few days. Just every once in a while, it's like my daily task is to just sim the lottery and see where the Bruins end up. That's the part of the season that we're at.
That's Pete's version of journaling.
Also, it's genuinely wild, and I said this in the group chat last night. I really believe the Bruins are like a bottom 3 team in the league.
Right now they are
Horrible.
terrible. They are. One of the DFSs I lost was when they played the Sharks. I mean, they scored 1 goal against Alex Georgiev on Saturday night. They scored 1 goal on Alex Georgiev.
I saw Ty Anderson tweet out a stat that was like over their last 5 games, the Bruins have less than 90 shots on net, like combined. And it's the first time that that's happened in like 20 years.
Not great, Bob. Unrelated, Gavin McKenna has 23 points in his last 5 games for Medicine
Very
Hat.
unrelated.
So I'll say that I know he's not in this draft, but I feel like there could be Gavin McKenna conversations for people wearing hats like yours. Audio listeners, make sure you're subscribed. He's wearing a Bruins hat in the future.
We all silly like the mayor.
Whatever move I make, I'm not doing something huge. Unless someone good comes along and that's worth spending, I would just save it for the offseason. Let's just talk about it. The Oilers allowed 8 goals to the Stars before Thanksgiving in an 8-3 loss, and then on Saturday,
Only game of that night, by the way.
Right, that was on Tuesday.
They were on the solo special ahead of fucking Wednesday night's game, and they got the absolute piss kicked out of them.
That was the angriest I think I've been as an Oilers fan, maybe in my life. I texted Tyler the next day, and I said, hey, man, feel weird doing this, but can you give me 5 minutes on the show today? And he said, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What time do you guys need me? And I said, oh, no, we already did our show. I'm saying, can I be on your show today? Because I need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, weird. Sure. So they had me on and they just let me go. And I was here at the studio doing some work. And I just like took my phone and fucking banged it out and yelled. And basically what the crux of my thing was is like, if you watch that game and if you watch the Oilers have like 3 shots on goal in the first period and you're screaming about just goalies after, I'm going to kill you.
Just doing a lot of work there.
What?
Like, just
oh, yeah, you can scream about goalies. Yeah. But if you watch that and you're like, see, they're never going to win with Stu Skinner, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my fucking
The only
God.
way that
they're
makes
never
sense,
going to win scoring 0 goals.
But the only way that makes sense is if you say they're never going to win with Stu Skinner behind this defense. Like that, I can accept.
Yeah. So I had my little meltdown about I'd love to upgrade the goaltending, of course, but the idea and this simplification of they're not scoring goals and they don't know when to get off the ice, Trent, because of their goalie. And so
Get off the ice.
Came around to, like, I've said it before, where it's like, if these guys hate Stu Skinner so much that they're like, we're not going to try in front of him, consciously or subconsciously,
What's
that's
the
horrible.
excuse in front of Pickard?
Right. Well, I mean, like I won't say I wouldn't try in front of Calvin Pitt, but like if they're thinking that way about Stu Skinner, then rationally they should think that way even more. Well, that sucks, but I would say, okay, you guys are babies, but you win. We'll get rid of the goalies. But I don't think it's that. Anyway,
so we're like, it sounds like, and from our discussions off the air, that you're in my camp, which I've been in for like over a year at this point, which is like, you can upgrade the goaltending. It doesn't mean that you have to trade Stuart Skinner. Upgrade the goaltending by upgrading the backup goaltender.
Yeah, that's how I feel. The other side of this equation, by the way, is on Saturday, Stu shut out the Kraken and was really good. But also, they played well in front of him. So the biggest change that I saw between those two games is that they had their act together one game. The penalty kill against the Kraken on Saturday was outstanding. The Kraken were like 0 for 90 on the power play, and I know the Kraken are an amazing team, but they looked a little more adult, did the Edmonton Oilers. So yes, what do you do with the goaltending situation in Edmonton? Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts today says that the Oilers, quote, disagree with our hypothesis. The hypothesis being everyone thinking they've just got to move on. They've got to do something. Let me give you some stats.
I do believe that they believe that. Or I do believe that they disagree with that.
Explain.
I mean, we've been saying this tandem needs to be changed for like over a year at this point. And I think we firmly landed this summer. Can't run that tandem back. They said, we disagree.
I am on the side of, by the way, if you make one move, do something with Pickard. Obviously, if there's something that can come along and you get rid of Skinner and you get a really good goalie, that's amazing.
Right.
But I'm afraid of the lateral moves. And I know that's something that's been echoed through either Bowman. I don't think he's said that exactly, but he's clearly talking to people who are saying the Oilers will not make a lateral move in goal. People are saying, well, a lateral move, you got the 2 worst goalies in the world. Isn't anything an upgrade? Let me give you some stats. There are 69 goalies who have played at least 5 games this season. In terms of save percentage, Stuart Skinner ranks 50th out of 69, which is very bad, but it is not 69th out of 69. Calvin Pickard, dead last in terms of save percentage. The Oilers are 3rd from last in goals against per game at 3.58. Shame on the Predators and Canucks for somehow being worse than that, because Edmonton has given up 9 goals in a game. They've given up 8 goals in a game. They have really stunk defensively. Now, as for the lateral move thing, remember what I said about goalies who played 5 games this season, save percentage?
Yeah.
Stu ranks 50th. Calvin Pickard ranks 69th. Jordan Binnington ranks 53rd. So if you're giving up anything of substance for any of these guys, a lot of them aren't better or much better.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you have to also provide the context that Jordan Binnington is playing behind one of the worst defenses in the NHL as well. So if you're saying like don't make the lateral move because Jordan Binnington may not look any better behind this defense, I get it. But Jordan Binnington, as much as it pains me of all people to say it, is a better goaltending option than the 2 goaltending options that you have in Edmonton.
I would think so, but I don't think that Binnington is better enough to. And like, there's been no hard reporting on what the conversations have been. But I know the Blues fans, God bless you, you got some crazy thoughts where you're like, okay, fine, Bouchard for Binnington or whatever. Like, Binnington at this point, I think, should not be a costly acquisition. And if he is, I would say no. At this point, I'm kind of on Stan Bowman's side, and I would make the minor upgrade of calling up Connor Ingram, who has absolutely stunk in Bakersfield, 873 save percentage in 8 games.
Harder to play in the A.
Yes. Or I would trade for Michael DiPietro, who, yes, they could have had on waivers. Everyone could have, and they chunked it bad, who has a 936 save percentage in Providence. As a quick aside, Bruins have a good starting goalie, but boy, are those other options that they let go away.
Brandon Bussey, 7-1 and 8 starts. Like,
Bussey and DiPietro, so much better than Jonas Korpisalo.
From a Bruins fan perspective, you want them to trade for Michael DiPietro. Like, what are they giving? Like, why at this point, like, as a Bruins fan, I don't know if I want the Bruins to trade Michael DiPietro because Jonas Korpisalo has not been very good.
Yeah, you shouldn't want him to.
You can have Korpisalo.
If you could have had DiPietro for free on waivers, I'll pay the asshole tax of giving up a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick for him.
But like, are the Bruins doing that?
Probably. They put him on waivers.
But maybe smartly so.
But anyway, like, whatever move I make, I'm not doing something huge. Unless someone good comes along and that's worth spending, I would just save it for the offseason. UPL I would take. What's he, $5 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he hangs out with his friends after losing games.
No, well, I don't know. I didn't see any friends. I saw women.
Maybe new friends.
New friends. Shout out.
He said, yes, new friends.
And then he went on to not have a single save in the next game.
It's shameful.
UPL I would take, by the way. A UPL Stu tandem would be Oops All Giants. I absolutely love that. Give me UPL. I'll take some sort of reclamation project.
Yeah.
But that's what I think Jordan Binnington is.
I mean, I genuinely think at this point, I know that like the no lateral moves things make sense from a logical perspective. I feel like we've exited the point of logic in this situation. Any new body in that tandem, please. Just any fucking new body in that tandem. I think you've just hit the expiration date on them running those 2 guys out there over and over and over again and telling us that they have faith that it's going to work. It's just has exceeded that point.
Was that thing about the players throwing a fit over potentially sending down Calvin Pickard, was that real?
I don't know, but it's devastatingly plausible. Like, it's I would believe it. Did you see while we're doing body language? Did you see Stu after the game celebrating with his teammates?
Mm-mm.
Like, the guys are coming down the line after coming over to him.
There's been a lot of talk about goalies celebrating recently.
That's true. And Hyman gets to him, and they do this, and then McDavid's like, Stuart.
Still not following on Instagram.
Letterkenny reference. Stuart.
But that's my big answer to what do the Oilers do about the goalie, and they have to do something, is I would do something small. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get everything, daily episodes, player interviews, and so much more. It's all here on the What Chaos YouTube. Hit subscribe.
I've heard in recent days that I should be thinking more about a $9 million contract for Marchand. And this morning, someone suggested to me it wouldn't be impossible that it gets to $10 million. I think that
Oh my
now
Okay, wonderful. Let's bring in Chris Johnston, the great, legendary Chris Johnston. There he is. Always love. What's that hat? You've told me before.
I have, yeah. It's a company in Toronto, just a mom and pop shop called North Standard Trading Post. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their products, so I buy their hats and t-shirts for every little kid I know. A bear t-shirt is a good gift for a little kid.
It's a cute ass hat.
Amazing. It's absolutely adorable. If you are a team that was in on or that planned on being in on Mitch Marner, would you see all the rumblings and grumblings about Vegas and say, you know what, at this point, let's just move to plan B because we have to assume he's going to Vegas?
There certainly are a few teams in that position. I think the Carolina Hurricanes would love to get in front of Mitch Marner if he hits the open market. The Los Angeles Kings, I think, would like to have an audience with him. And, how else would you read the happenings of the last few days is to think you're probably not going to get that opportunity. But at the same time, until or unless a deal happens involving his rights or sign and trade here before tomorrow at noon, I think you have to at least kind of keep your mind open to a lot of things. And I think that's really, from a front office perspective, what makes the free agency period so hectic is you have sort of like a plan A, but then you're like, well, if this doesn't happen, then you sort of plan B, plan C, plan D. It would be hard for anyone other than Vegas, I think, to call Marner a plan A right now because, I do believe that there's a lot of smoke there around, obviously, that situation and the possibility lands with the Golden Knights. But, if it gets to where he's on the open market, maybe someone else can put an offer in front of him he can't refuse.
How real do you think the tampering allegations are? And are the Leafs going to end up with something for Mitch Marner at the end of this?
Well, let's separate the two. I think that they could end up with something for him because there's a lot of value, almost the reverse of the last question. If you're Vegas and, yeah, you feel good that Mitch Marner, would want to play in your city, but trading for his rights and signing him, there's some value to that. It removes any uncertainty of the open market. It removes any possibility something goes sideways, and you just get it done. And there's still a team that's working with a lot of cap restrictions. So, if they're trading someone off their roster and creating cap space that way, and obviously Nicholas Waugh's name has been attached there, then it's one of those solutions that can maybe meet, offer a little solution for all parties. Tampering itself, we all know everybody in this league talks, and they talk a lot, and agents talk to team people, and there's a lot of sort of conversations that happen that I don't have any doubt at least verge into something like tampering. But the tampering charge is a pretty serious thing. And to prove it, which I don't think has happened in my years around the league, there'd have to be a paper trail. And so I don't really want to lob that allegation out there. And I want to be careful how I dance around the subject. But what is true is that the Leafs and the Golden Knights have had multiple conversations over the years about a Mitch Marner trade. Mitch Marner had a no movement clause this year, and there was discussions around the trade deadline about potentially a three-way trade that would have saw Mitch Marner go to Vegas, and I believe he was willing to waive his no move clause at that time to have that trade happen. And so even though that didn't happen, largely because Vegas couldn't satisfy the part of the deal that would go to Carolina, basically would have been Rantanen at the time going to Toronto sending Marner to Vegas, but the Vegas to Carolina part of that three-way trade that was discussed never made enough sense that it didn't proceed. But in the process of having those conversations, obviously Marner's agent, Marner himself, the Golden Knights, the Leafs, like everyone knew that there was enough interest that he was willing to go there. So, I don't know what would ever have to emerge for it to be considered tampering. In fact, to be honest, for the last, say, couple of weeks, I kept hearing Marner was looking at a shorter-term deal with Vegas or another team on the free agent market. Now it sounds like it could be a longer-term contract. So I don't have any reason to believe like a deal itself was like completely cooked up. I don't even think there's a contract right now that's an exact deal that's done for Marner. So, look, there's a lot of shared experience here from everyone at the table. I think there's some emotions. There's a lot of stress this time of year. So I don't know where anything goes with that. I'd be surprised if we're talking about any actual tampering charges. But that doesn't remove the fact that somewhere in the next hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, we could still see a Marner trade because I think teams like to get out in front of things, make those deals. Tampa dealt for Gensel's rights last year with Carolina. before signing him. The Leafs actually sent a draft pick and a player to Dallas for Chris Tanev's rights a year ago before signing him. So there is some precedent here in recent memory.
The plight of a reporter is that you do all this work and you find all this information and you share all this information. And ultimately, once the move happens, nobody cares or remembers who said it, who reported it, who knew it. So I want to give you your flowers on Brad Marchand being traded to the Florida Panthers, because you were the only person I remember who was taking the idea of Brad Marchand being traded seriously, and people were losing their minds. The Bruins are never trading him, this, that. You knew something about Marchand then. What do you know about Marchand now? Because we've talked about Utah. We've talked about, obviously, Florida. Boston has come up. Where do you think he goes? Toronto, obviously. And do you have an idea as to what his contract looks like right now?
It feels like it's growing by the day. You know, like earlier in the spring, and as that Panthers playoff run was going, I was reporting, and others I'm sure were as well, it was going to be an $8 million plus deal. I've heard in recent days that I should be thinking more about a $9 million contract for Marchand. And this morning, someone suggested to me it wouldn't be impossible that it gets to $10 million. I think that.
Oh my
Now,
God.
now, don't confuse this. I'm not saying 100% he's signing a $10 million contract, but I do think the level of interest is such that he's going to sign the kind of deal that no one would have imagined for him at the start of the season. I mean, look at that playoff run. You know, I know it was a very difficult season, and like Brad Marchand. We'll be talking about this years down the road when the trade deadline comes up, and so players being rumored about how you can like remake it a difficult season with a great run after, you know, a trade like the one he had to Florida. And so, you know, he's in a position where he's in high demand. Let's imagine the Marner comes off the board before actual free agency. If Marchand does not sign in Florida in the next basically 24 hours or a little less, I mean, he's the number one player available in free agency, even at age 37, even with all the things you might be worried about. So I think I'm expecting $9 million to be right about where the number comes in for him. I expect it now to be 4 years. Initially, I was thinking it was a 3-year contract. I mean, he's signed the kind of deal. Like, in fact, I should start looking up. Like, I don't know if anyone at his age has signed that kind of contract ever, quite honestly. I mean, usually when a player gets to 37, we're talking about him taking hometown discounts, signing a deal like John Tavares was only 34, almost 35. He just signed a $4 million deal in Toronto to stay there. I mean, that's the kind of deal at that stage of your career we're talking about players signing. But Marchand, it's a perfect storm for him. Cap going up. He just had this amazing run. He couldn't, I agree with you. I've seen some of your clips from your recent shows. Like, he couldn't have handled the spotlight better, the attention on him. Like, he's a machine for marketing himself, and he's still damn good on the ice. So I think he's going to be a big winner. Whether he signs a deal in Florida, it's going to be monster. But if he hits the open market, he's getting a massive contract.
I mean, but if he's getting those numbers you're throwing around, like Toodaloo, Florida, right? Like, how could he stay in Florida?
Well, that might be the decision, right? And I'll be very clear here. I don't know as of this morning or early afternoon now where things exactly stand with the Panthers and Marchand. I know they engaged with him over the weekend. They're making a pitch to sign him. Ever since getting Sam Bennett's extension done, he is priority one for the Panthers. And so I'm sure, first of all, they're not going to go to those type of numbers. I can say that confidently. But, they've got a pretty strong pull. They can sell him on, hey, bud, like, look how well this fits. Look how much fun you're having. We all saw the party vids. Like, he's clearly one of the guys there. And they can say to him pretty credibly, hey, you got a chance to win one more, two more, multiple more Stanley Cups if you stay here and sign here. And so the decision is jumping into the unknown to some degree, especially if he signs, say, in a Toronto or a Utah, somewhere he's never played. Even on that kind of contract, I mean, it's great for your accountant. It's great for your kids' futures. But, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I know Brad can handle pressure. Obviously, he's had a Hall of Fame type career to this stage, but it's nice the day you get the money, but then there's a lot that comes with it. So, I'm sure that he's weighing through all those factors, and I don't know where at this second it sits. But you're right. I think it's going to be hard for him to pass up on that, especially because the timing and hindsight of the big deal he signed in Boston, signed that extension during the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Like, his best seasons came after he signed that 8-year deal. So he's probably left a little bit of money on the table in his career. And it looks to me like he's going to recoup some of those lost funds here with this next contract.
So I've been surprised at the Bruins kind of reemerging in those. I figured he was good as gone because of the price going up. Like, if they weren't willing to meet him at his price before, why are they now being linked back to Marchand? And like, what would be their sales pitch to Marchand to get him to come back here after, like you said, he went to Florida, he like experienced this revitalization, won a Stanley Cup, and is having like his value completely lifted up by what he's done in Florida. Why would he come back to Boston? Like, are you surprised that the Bruins are in this mix?
Yeah, and I don't know to what degree they're in it, to be honest. I mean, I think that they want to leave the door open if he wants to do that. But, I don't know your guys' dating history. Usually it doesn't work well when you're reuniting with an ex. Like, typically speaking, that's not it's hard to find the old magic again. And so, I'm sure on a personal level, like his family was obviously a huge part of the community there in Boston. But, I have a hard time personally believing that that's going to be what makes the most sense for him. But, I guess if you're the Bruins, like, why close the door now? But yeah, you've just, you have this breakup. It was emotional at the time, right? I mean, Marchand didn't want to leave. He's been pretty open about that and was trying to do everything at the time, before March 7th to stay, and it didn't work. Like, then he has the ultimate glow up. I mean, getting back with your ex, I mean, just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So
he got way
I think
hotter, they got way uglier. Like, it makes no sense.
I have a theory on this. I think the Bruins saw Brad Marchand go off, do great. Everyone's saying, how did you trade that guy? Especially when he was going to give you a hometown discount and he was going to stay there for cheap. And there's all this egg on Don Sweeney's face. We all know, unless he stays in Florida, that he is going to go get top dollar. I think the Bruins just want to put themselves on that list. So when he goes out and gets top dollar, they save face and say, well, you know what? He was just all about the money in the end. And I think that it would take a certain type of idiot fan to buy what they'd be selling there. But I think that this is just more PR than anything else.
Right. I'm a little less sure than you, but what you say there makes some sense. And honestly, I feel like with this situation, I mean, maybe the breakup had to happen to get that out of Marchand too, right? Like let's not. I mean, we get to only view. I guess we don't know what doors don't open, right? It's we're always guessing about what could have been, but maybe had he stayed in Boston and seen a bunch of those players, his buddies, traded away the way they did at the deadline, because I think even had he extended there, it doesn't change the fact that Carlo and Coyle and everyone else that got shipped out at that time, like that was the path the organization was going down. And so, yes, he had a chance to sort of, I guess, carry the legacy of all the way back to 2011, but even the more recent teams help Pasternak and McAvoy make that transition with a younger team around them. But I don't know. I actually believe that it's been good for both parties here, probably, to get some space. I know that there's sentimentalists, and I'm sure there's lots of hardcore Bruins fans that hated seeing him in another jersey, and probably hated seeing how well he did in another jersey. But this can be, sometimes change can be helpful too. I think both for the organization and for the player, and that's why I don't see a reunion unless that's something that really deep down Marchand wants, and I don't know why that would be the case.
Oh yeah, to your point, they saved him from himself, and that's another place where Don Sweeney deserves some credit because he made hockey a better place by not letting Brad Marchand stay and us not get to see this run that he went on. Oilers fans hearing that hate me for saying that. Where does Brock Besser go?
Just a quick thought. A quick thought before. Like, would Sidney Crosby been better at some point to have moved on, or like he's just, he's still a really great player on a rusting hulk of a team. Like it sometimes it's good. You're right. I feel like that's what I think of. I know anyway, maybe the Halifax connection has my brain going, but I think a lot of people out there would like to see Crosby move on.
Penguins fans don't want to hear it, but like 31 other fan bases would be blessed to see Sidney Crosby play playoff hockey in like the next few years. And it's probably not going to happen in Pittsburgh. And so I think most fan bases are probably rooting to see Sidney Crosby go somewhere else.
And it could have been him having a Conn Smythe kind of spring if he had got traded at the deadline somewhere, right? I mean, he could have been having a story like Marchand authored. And so, I guess the grass sometimes isn't greener, but I think other times it actually is. Anyway, Brock Besser, you're asking about, where's he going? I think everybody wants him that isn't every team that's looking to get better, which seems like everyone in the league right now, needs a player like a Brock Besser or a Nikolai Ehlers. Like they're kind of they're in the next tier, right below the Marner Marchand conversations. Or we'll leave those to the side. But you know, the Winnipeg Jets are likely losing Ehlers. I'm sure they'd love a crack at Brock Besser. Even the Vancouver Canucks haven't totally closed the door on a Besser reunion. Again, another one I can't really see happening at this point. But those will be two intriguing players for me on July 1st, because I think both are going to hit the open market. I think both are going to have a lot of different types of options. My sense is Besser is open to all kinds of different situations. Like he hasn't, the problem with free agency, sometimes the top free agents are like, yeah, Mitch Marner's technically a free agent, but he wants to go somewhere where he can win. He wants to go somewhere where, the tax situation is good. Like, he's really, his list is pretty small. Whereas I think Besser is willing to look at it and consider a lot of different cities and opportunities, teams at various stages of competitiveness, depending on the contract and the circumstances. So, I don't know where he's going, but I do think he's a true free agent, and that a whole bunch of different teams will be in on him and have a plausible shot to convince him to come sign for them.
Over the past couple of days, there's been reports coming out that the Canucks are going to re-sign Thatcher Demko most likely. What is that contract going to look like? And like, what's the state of the goalie market right now? Because Jake Allen is the best free agent goalie available. We saw John Gibson traded already. So like, say there's a team out there that may have like hypothetically finished runner-up in the Stanley Cup final. Like, what are their options for goaltending?
They're not good, right? I mean, they made the decision, they being the Oilers, that John Gibson wasn't something they wanted, to pursue during the regular season. The acquisition cost at that time they felt was too high in a trade. He would have played there, even though he did have some no trade protection. He was willing to go to Edmonton, and they just didn't see it as a big enough upgrade or worth the price. I don't know where they turn now, quite honestly. I mean, Jake Allen is the only goaltender that I think you could sign as a free agent in theory. I mean, he's still in discussions, actually, the New Jersey Devils right now. So suppose there's a world where even that door closes before it could even open to other teams. But he's the only goaltender with a real past of high-level performance over a sustainable period of time where you could probably sign him and expect him to play a bunch of games for you. I mean, there's a lot of other goalies that have had their moments on the UFA board, but most of them are clear number twos at best. We just saw Billy Husso sign a deal over the weekend in Anaheim for $2.2 million. He's their number 3 guy right now. The goaltending market is in shambles. Like if you don't have your goaltending secured at this point, I think you can't be too comfortable. And so, Edmonton to me is probably going to have to address that issue if you think it's an issue by a trade at some point after July 1st. I don't see an obvious or apparent solution for them. In fact, I think that's why you're starting to hear people say, well, look, they might not make a change at all, because the one thing you can say they have in Calvin Pickard and Stu Skinner is they have a very affordable tandem. They have a tandem that's taken them to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. I know they didn't win either of them, but they've won a lot of games with those guys. And I just don't see a lot of obvious ways for them to get better. Maybe something will emerge next season too. I mean, we'll see how that develops, but there's not like one guy to say, hey, they'll go and chase him and that'll solve the problem. I don't think it's that easy.
The problem is, and Stan Bowman said in his breakup day availability that, we've had the better goaltending in every round except the final. And Pete, that'll drive people crazy. I'll say the last 2 years, they've had the better goaltending in every round except for this Stanley Cup final. So when he doesn't want a John Gibson during the year because it's going to cost a lot to get him, you don't know if he'll be healthy. And with so many of these guys, he thinks, I'm speaking for him, but I assume he thinks, do we even know that at his best, he's going to be better than Skinner at his best? And he would not be wrong to think that, but I think we all know something's got to change. They've got to find somebody more consistent. So I actually see his dilemma where he's like, am I really going to pay for something that might not be as good as what I already have, even if it's a little more consistent? Like, do you see that dilemma making sense for why he hasn't gone out and spent yet?
Yeah, I totally see it. The problem for me is, though, it's 2 years in a row now where you've lost to the same team. And honestly, the Oilers feel like they lost ground to the Panthers between those, that like in the span of from June 2024 to June 2025. that the distance between them and the best team in the league actually grew. And so how do you go back to your team that you're trying to convince, hey, we're going to be better, we're going to be better equipped to handle this, like we can do this again, and not address that position? I think, it sounds like they're going to make a change with the goaltending coach there, but I don't know if that's enough. I feel like, as much as it pains me to say this, because it's probably the easy thing for a media person to say and the hardest thing for a GM to do, is that sometimes you do need change for change's sake. I know that they're going to say you don't do that, but I think you need to come back and instill belief in your team. Frankly, that's why a lot of teams make moves at the trade deadline. It's almost a public show of, we believe in you guys. We think this group has what it takes. We're adding to this team to give you a shot. I think that they have to do something, but I understand fully why they haven't, because, as I say, like, it's going to get more expensive for them. They have significant cap issues to consider. They haven't signed Evan Bouchard as of the second, but obviously a big contract's coming down the pipe for him. They're losing some players. Connor Brown's going to hit free agency here. John Klingberg. They need to replace guys, but they don't have money to spend, and so they're in a real predicament. I mean, the best thing you can say about the Oilers is they have the two best players in the world, or two of the absolute best players in the world. But beyond that, it's difficult to see how they get better, and I really do think they're going to have to make some kind of change. But I mean, I don't see what it is right now. I mean, do you trust Elvis Merzlikins? Like where else do you find? You're going to have to find someone who can maybe have his best showing for your team, because there's just not a proven fail-safe for sure commodity out there for them to go get.
You are not wrong about that. The day after the Oilers lost the cup this year, I was like, my number one takeaway on this series is they should have fucking won last year. Like, last year was the year that they should have won. They were the better team in that series, and that's not just crybaby fan stuff. Like, they were the better team. Bob stole game one, and now after this series, like, they should not have won this series. No. The Panthers were clearly better than them this year. And granted, the Panthers were loaded, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know why I want to touch this, but people in the chat are saying Carter Hart. At some point, when all that dust gets settled and like whoever is guilty and whoever isn't guilty, that is going to be a fucking shit show, because once these guys are able to work, if they are not guilty, then you are going to see PR nightmares left and right. But like, what do you think is going to happen there? Because if any of these guys are found not guilty, are they suing the league? Are they like what happens with them?
I don't know that answer, and I don't want to go too far down the road of hypotheticals there. But July 24th, they're supposed to be ruling in the case in London. And I would have to think that if the players are exonerated, I mean, then the NHL has to rule whether they can work again or play in the league. And I have no idea at this point if they can. And so that's really the first question that has to be answered. I think Formanton has actually moved on to another. I think he's working as a construction worker. Like, some of those players probably aren't even trying to continue their careers. I think Carter Hart has kept himself in the kind of shape where he could. But I mean, first of all, they have a legal process that's much more important than this. And I guess the what if is if they are found not guilty, then the league's going to have to say whether they can work again for that and not. And I don't even want to guess how that will land, because there's not any precedent for it that I can lean on to even say, like, this is what I think will happen.
And there's no way any of these teams are like considering these players right now, because they have to assume the very possible likelihood that they won't be exonerated, and that they can't be seeing these guys as like potential free agents while we don't even know if they'll be like where they'll be in a month.
Yeah,
exactly. They can't be part of your plans. I mean, I'm sure there's been internal discussions. Hey, if would we ever do it? I don't even know how many teams would do it, honestly. And I'm not trying to weigh in morally on anything. Like, I don't know what's going to happen there. It's going to be tough.
And with anybody with legal issues, with anything, like, I know they say this in the NFL, where if they're on like the top third of your roster, then you have a discussion. If they're in the middle third of your roster, you probably don't want to do it. And if they're on the bottom third of your roster, there's just no way that it's worth it. And again, that becomes a moral conversation, but that's just how these teams work, where they're like, if it's going to help us win, what do we put up with? What do we do, et cetera, et cetera? If it's just like going to be a replacement level player, then there's no need to bring that into the equation. Let's end on a more positive note, I suppose. What's the juiciest thing that you would say on a podcast but not quite report that you've heard the last couple of days?
Oh man, I'm not going into that. That's a good way for me to get in trouble.
Because that's what we clip.
I know how it works. Unfortunately, I've been on the wrong end of a few of those. Not with the What Chaos show though, but
there's too many of those Twitter accounts now that listen to a bunch of podcasts and just tweet out like, this person said this without the context. So
there is one in particular that keeps taking me way out of context, and I'm getting pissed off. But you can't win that. You can't. I actually can't remember what it's called. Rumor Report or something.
That's a big one.
Oh, is that the one? It's got like it's like a white and burgundy aesthetic.
White and maroon.
Yes.
Yeah, I get. So I follow that account, and when I see, because I usually do this when things are aggregated, if I see it, I then go to find where it was. So if it says Chris Johnson said on Spit and Chicklets that this, I'll go and I'll listen to your appearance and I'll make sure that's actually what you said. Because
you're the 1% of the population that does that, though. I mean, most people just read it like that's a fact that I've said it in a declarative manner when often it isn't the case. Anyway, we all got a job to do. That's just part of the business.
All right. You're the best. Thanks, CJ. Appreciate you, man.
Be good.
We all silly like the mayor.
Gavin McKenna announcing his commitment on ESPN. Like, when has that ever happened in college hockey where a player announces their commitment on national television, let alone ESPN? You know, it's going to be an unbelievable year. There's probably never been more eyeballs on college hockey than what we'll see this season.
Johnny, you are our foremost college hockey expert. So we wanted to ask you, are we preparing ourselves for the greatest season in college hockey now that we are seeing so many players make the jump because they can from CHL to NCAA? You've got returning players already of like James Hagans, Cole Hudson, Cullen Potter, I should say, ASU. Joey Muldowney, you reminded me. We watched him, Sean, in the Hockey East tournament. East, That was my guy. Incoming freshmen, including Gavin McKenna, Roger McQueen, Caden Lindstrom, Porter Martone, Keaton Verhoff, Cole Reshney, Jackson Smith, possibly Michael Misa soon. I don't totally know what's going on with that. What, you think he's going pro?
I genuinely don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I would assume if you haven't heard about college yet, we're already in August, so I would assume he's not going to college.
That's what I was thinking too. I was reading up on it.
I know McQueen just signed to Providence, but
yes.
I just don't think Misa at this point, because guys are reporting to school in like 2 weeks.
That's so crazy.
But I'm not crazy that when I look at this list of players and some household names on the list, and then players like Verhoff, who, if you don't know him yet, you are absolutely going to know him because he's going to be a star and probably going to be the second overall pick in this upcoming draft. Gavin McKenna, obviously. Any local fans in Boston know who Jimmy Hagans is. So this should be a monster year in college hockey. We've gone to some games, but we're gonna go to several.
Yeah. Also, other names too, like Cole Eiserman's going back to BU. Will Horkoff went in the first round from Michigan. He's going back. A couple kids too that went out of the USHL. Riker Lee, a first rounder to Nashville. He's going to Michigan State. Vaslav Nestrasil played for the winning Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL. Got drafted 25th overall. He's going to UMass. Did you say Jackson Smith?
Yeah.
You said Jackson Smith? Okay,
Penn State.
He's going to Penn State, obviously. Malcolm Spence leaving the OHL and going to Michigan. Rangers draft pick in the second round. That's another one who played with Matthew Schaefer. He's a guy to keep your eye on. So there's a lot of big names. College hockey and I want to say too, like Gavin McKenna announcing his commitment on ESPN. Like, when has that ever happened in college hockey where a player announces their commitment on national television, let alone ESPN? It's going to be an unbelievable year. There's probably never been more eyeballs on college hockey than what we'll see this season. And, as someone who gets to do the broadcast for a bunch of games, I'm so beyond excited to just be paying close attention and being, right there in it with college hockey. Also, I should mention too, the Spangler Cup. They're putting together a college hockey all-star team to go to the Spangler Cup this year as well. It's during World Juniors, so it won't be any World Juniors eligible players. So it's probably going to be, like the 21 and up guys that are playing college hockey that go. But that's another thing to keep your eye on this year as well, because that's going to be an unbelievable tournament too.
I think that what's cool about this coming season and what's going to happen now that we have these players, because like some of them are going to be one and dones, and some of them are going to be there for a couple of years, and then they're going to make the jump. There's going to be, I can't think of any league where this really happens, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be following college hockey without necessarily having a team. Like people are going to watch these games to watch Gavin McKenna when they're not Penn State fans, and they're going to watch, I don't know, like if you're a Bruins fan, you might be a BU fan or whatever, but like you're watching BC to watch Jimmy Hagens. And I think that there's going to be, Sean, is there another league that's like that? Maybe for fantasy reasons, people will watch.
I think basketball. I think the NBA is kind of in that situation. I think people have teams, but like I think there's a lot of people who follow players around. They'll switch their allegiance based on the players.
My cousin, born and raised in Long Island, New York, is a diehard Oklahoma City Thunder fan because of Russell Westbrook.
Yep,
and even when Russell left, he stayed true to Oklahoma City. He was actually like, I think his mom took him to Game 7 this year. Like,
I know. I have two friends, one from Arizona and one from Philadelphia, who are exactly the exact same thing. Fell in love with Russell Westbrook and are diehard Thunder fans because of it. So, that could be part of this too. Is like, going into the season, people might not have teams, but you're going to come out of it, and there's going to be a lot of Penn State fans.
Yeah, that's my Chargers fandom. I loved Phillip Rivers coming out of college and watched Chargers games.
Your Oilers fandom.
Because I liked, I was like, what's this Draisaitl thing? Why isn't Peter Chiarelli trading him? I'm going to watch him. And now if, like we talked last year on the show where like if Draisaitl leaves, that's going to suck, blah, blah, blah. But like I would have stayed an Oilers fan, definitely.
And I think it's an interesting part of it too is what Colton brings up in the chat. He says, as a Canadian, I'm going to be very invested in the NCAA. Like, I'd have to imagine that there was little to no interest in college hockey amongst Canadian hockey fans.
Not much.
Especially compared to what it is now. And now it's just like your best players, and I'm not saying that as like a fuck you, but like the best players from the OHL, guys that those Canadian fans probably have been following the last couple of years, are now playing somewhere else. And so they're going to be invested in the NCAA in a way that they weren't prior.
And I'll say too, Sean, just to kind of like go off of that. Colton's a friend of mine. He does a show called Game Day Tarps. He had Craig Button on, I think, not too long ago. And Craig Button, I saw a clip today, said like, also don't be surprised if some of these guys actually leave the NCAA if they're still eligible to go back to the CHL if it's not everything they thought it would be. Some of, and I'm not trying to like, I'm not trying to say they're like entitled, but I think some of the Canadian players might not understand how difficult playing D1 really is, and that's something to watch this year too. We talk about Gavin McKenna, and everyone just seems to think Gavin McKenna is going to light it up, which he very well probably will do. But in the odd chance that McKenna puts up 40 points, maybe, like, what are we saying then? Because James Hagens a year ago, everyone was saying this kid's going first overall. All of a sudden, he puts up, 37 points, and now drops to 7, and everyone else that got drafted ahead of him were playing in a different bracket of hockey, So I'm very curious to see how the conversation shifts. Like, I'm not rooting against Gavin McKenna by any means, but like I'm curious to see what the conversation shifts to if he doesn't have a 60, 70 point year.
And I have to imagine
that's what Macklin did. That's what Eichel did. Kyle Connor had those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, these guys lit up college hockey, but it wasn't looked at to be, they were obviously highly touted going into it, but not like Gavin McKenna. I don't think anyone has been as highly touted going into a college season as Gavin McKenna.
I also have to imagine there's like, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I guess I don't really know exactly what the life of like OHL or CHL players is like, but I have to imagine there's a fuck ton more distractions playing at a D1, especially a college like Penn State or Michigan State. Like, that's got to be a whole different animal when you're now living by yourself and you're like, especially in Gavin McKenna's situation, especially with how popular Penn State hockey is probably in Pennsylvania at this point, like gonna be a big man on campus, and like that's got to be a whole different kind of pressure than what CHOs are used to.
But for as much as you warn players about that, of like, hey, you might get there and find like this is hard and you're playing against bigger and older people. The other side of that is, though, say Gavin McKenna does light it up, and not that players should look at Gavin McKenna and say, hey, I'm going to do what Gavin McKenna did, but say a lot of these guys go there and they bulk up because they don't have to play as often as you do in junior, and you're just playing on the weekends and you're spending all week in the weight room and getting huge. And we see that some of these CHL players like really turn into NHL players before our eyes from spending a year or two in the NCAA. Just more guys are going to go there. And then the other side of it is for the, if players get there and leave and don't like it, I got no problem with that because I'm not a huge college football guy, not a huge college basketball guy, but the transfer portal has made it so we expect that anyway, where like even if you have a player that you like, he might be there for a good time, not a long time.
And we've seen this in football specifically and basketball too. But like, what happens when a kid comes over and gets promised the world by an NIL collective? And I know that the landscape of NIL is rapidly changing like as we speak. But like, what happens when a kid gets fucked over by an NIL agreement and he says, "Fuck this, I'm going back"? Like, how does that change? Like, or how at least Canadian kids approach the NCAA? Like, I think there's just so many things that are specific to like the landscape of NCAA that you can tell, like you said, you can tell people about, but they're only going to be so prepared for it until they actually have to deal with it.
Yeah. And, you know, again, to DJ's point too, like to counter it a little bit, Gavin McKenna was a big man in Medicine Hat as well too, right? Like it's not like he's recognized everywhere he goes. I think he'll be used to that as well. The difference with Penn State is like maybe the college party life.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. What happens when you have like a bunch of frat bros or sorority girls telling you to come to a party on Friday night? Like,
every kid is
I'm not
different.
saying he's going to be irresponsible, but like it's a completely different kind of temptation.
Yeah, but UMass wasn't Penn State, but like, you know, I was there with Kale his freshman year. Kale was such a pro on and off the ice. Like Kale was not putting himself in any situation where he'd either get in trouble or have anything affect his hockey career. Like that guy was dialed in. Like,
yeah, I think hockey is definitely different than football or basketball in the sense that like I think they start like really preparing you to be a professional and kind of treating you as a professional way earlier in your career, especially if you played in the CHL. So like, yeah, I'd have to imagine they're a little more prepared for it than in other situations, but still, you can only be so prepared when you actually have to deal with it.
Johnny, who are you most looking forward? What's that?
I was just going to say one last thing. If you guys aren't aware of it, it's something I've actually watched like for years. Penn State has a great media team, I guess, for lack of a better term. They do this thing called it's kind of like Behind the B, but it's the Penn State hockey version. It's called the Penn State Hockey Story. They've been doing it like literally since like probably 2010. And you know, Gavin McKenna, if you are a hockey fan, Penn State fan, college hockey fan, whatever, that is something that you should be tuned into every week. So it'll be really cool. And I also heard that McKenna might actually have his own camera crew like following him around, which would be pretty cool. So again, like that's even just more eyeballs to college hockey. But DJ, what were you saying?
That's a little Caleb Williamsy. I'm worried about that. I can't. Who are you most looking forward to watching? I mean, I think we all want to see what Gavin McKenna is, but who are you most looking forward to watching this year?
Man, that's a tough question. I like it's easy to say McKenna, like it is. I'm so curious as to what he'll look like in college hockey, but part of me is like I think Cole Hudson was just like unbelievable last year. Like everything he did seemed to be highlight worthy, and his confidence. Like Cole Hudson, I don't want to say he's like a quieter guy, but the confidence he has on the ice is so loud, so much different than Lane. Like it's almost like maybe a little bit more a cockiness swagger to him, which I love. Like I'm all for that. Like I did a UMass BU game at UMass this year. The day I went on in your guys' studio, actually, when I left to UMass, which was so kind of you guys to have me in studio. And Cole scored 2 goals in the third period. They were down in the game. Cole put the team on his back, and like literally a defenseman scored 2 goals, and BU ends up winning that game. Like he is someone that is going to be playing in the NHL before the season ends next year, and he is electric. Like I think he could win the Hobie Baker this year.
Yeah, the Hobie Baker is going to be interesting because I'd say watch out for. I'd say to watch out for Yzerman. Someone who I hate to say that he has a lot to prove, but I feel like
he scored a lot last year. I think he had like 20 goals.
Yeah, but I mean, like ever since he fell in the draft, and people were like, "Why did he fall in the draft?" And it was like, "Oh, okay, well, teams don't like him." And then I remember even leading up to this draft, where it's like, "Hey, if they're trying to move up to get Hagens, could they dangle him?" No, I don't think that his value is as high or whatever. Like I could just see him absolutely go off, win the Hobie Baker. But high on my list, Caden Lindstrom. Like I feel like people have kind of forgotten about him. 4th overall pick. Had a back injury last year, but is going to be playing probably. I don't know if he'll be line mates with him, but like will be playing with Porter Martone, I would think. So watch out for Michigan State. They're going to be awesome. And then Keaton Verhoff, because someone had a tweet the other day that was like,
he's projected second, right? After McKenna.
Yeah. Yep. Someone, I forget who it was. It might have been Jay Fresh. I'm going to just keep referencing his tweets, but I think he said like the most valuable thing in hockey is like the big, rangy two-way defenseman who can do everything and blah. And like, do those guys really exist anymore? And people were like, well, maybe Rasmus Dahlin. And I think that Keaton Verhoff is supposed to be that. So he'll be amazing to watch. Like if he looks like Rasmus Dahlin in college, he is going to be like, imagine that type of player existing in college hockey would be amazing. And
I feel like he's also like not really talked about maybe as much as the guy who's projected to go.
He's not at all
behind. Like he's like the Jack Eichel.
The way that people used to talk about Eichel.
Yeah. Like, and I know he's going to Nodak, which is like obviously a legitimate program, but I feel like at this point not talked about like amongst the Hockey East, or obviously what Penn State has become over the last year. Like, and then he's going to show up to the draft to be the 2nd overall pick.
Nodak's its own world. Like it's just. I mean, I've never been. I'm trying to make a trip there this year actually, but like, I mean, everything I've seen and heard about that place, like that's NHL.
Yeah,
like that building is unlike anything else in college hockey, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I think we're going to do some college hockey trips this year.
Are you going to ASU for McKenna's first game?
No, I'm trying to go to Penn State though.
Yeah, that would be.
Like I'd
We're
rather
definitely going to Penn State.
Are you going to go to ASU, Sean? I mean,
I would love to. Right? We were discussing it briefly. I would love to see that. Mullet's a cool environment, and I feel like ASU fans are gonna show up for that because I hate Penn State hockey a little bit because they are what ASU should have been. They're the club team with their club coach that went D1 and got an investment, and then they actually won something. And now they're getting the best player in college hockey history, potentially. That should be us.
I think to counter, like, as someone who went to neither school, so there's no bias here.
Yeah.
Penn State is its own little world.
Yes, no, like 100%. I understand why.
Nothing around it. There's nothing around. There's nothing around Penn State. Like you go to Penn State and you are in Happy Valley, and that is like the only place you're like. If you're an ASU, like there's other big like Scottsdale is right near. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree 100%.
Community. It's like the craziest thing.
And like, admittedly, I think the interest in ASU hockey in large part is like kind of like a novelty as opposed to being like obsessed with all things Penn State sports. Like the hockey, this arena's new, hockey is new. They had Josh Doan for a while. Like there was cool things going on there.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see how long that novelty lasts. But still, I hate Penn State for having what I want ASU to have.
But also, Sean, like, so I was playing junior hockey when ASU went to D1. So like I played against them their first year D1, and like when they announced they were going to D1, that's where everybody wanted to go. Like that was the spot. You're not going to go to a nicer like place that a hockey program exists in. Like no, if you are a one and done player, that's where you should go.
Yeah, I mean it would be fucking incredible. Especially now that they're in a conference, they play teams consistently. They have a chance of making the tournament, a better chance of making the tournament. Like, didn't you score against ASU? I remember you telling that story at one point. Yeah,
I did. Tying goal with like 5 minutes left. They were a ranked team. We were unranked because I was at Mercyhurst, and scored a goal, scraped ice, jumped into Mario Lemieux standing on the glass in the corner because his son was on the team. Sick.
That's hard.
One of my sicker memories. But again, like Sean, you talk about distraction. If you're Gavin McKenna's agent, that's the last place I'm sending you.
I mean, you get distracted by the palm trees and the cacti, let alone the people and the things to do. Like it is, especially if you're coming from Canada, it is quite literally a different planet.
Apparently, every Sunday the ASU hockey team would throw like massive pool parties because Sunday is like your one day of no practice, no responsibilities. Like that was the big day.
I believe it.
We all silly like the mayor.